We are live. All right, let's jump in here. Hopefully, you all can hear me. Let me know if you can't. All right, let's get into this. Yeah, I like doing these sort of impromptu episodes because sometimes I just have an inspiration and I need to go with it. And I was working on something earlier that I thought might be of benefit to you all. So, yeah, that's what we're going to jump into today. And I'm going to show you a little bit of the ideation process, right? I believe that we are living in the idea economy. People who are going to do well, people who are going to prosper, people who will achieve wealth will be people who participate and lead in this idea economy. So if you're going to be in the idea economy, guess what you have to have? You have to have some ideas. You have to know how to cultivate an idea, how to validate an idea, and then how to mobilize an idea and get its manifestation into the hands of the people who are intended to benefit from it. So that's what I want to talk to you about. All right. So hopefully you guys get something out of this. So a couple things. We have had a number of new people who are joining. Some of them are familiar names to me. A lot of them are not. I'm just as happy to see the people that are familiar to me as I am the people who are not, because now we all get to get familiar with one another. But you guys have joined the Pivot Play podcast group, so that's a good thing. And that's before we go completely private, because I just have a lot of stuff that I need to be able to say. And you know how social media is. They're not gonna let me say everything. If they don't like something I'm saying, they're gonna make sure that you don't hear it. So we may go to somewhere like Patreon. We could there's others, or I could just build it myself. That's a possibility. So we can have community, but we can have open, transparent conversations. That's how I'm looking at it. All right, so it's 3:23 Atlantic Standard Time here in Puerto Rico. I don't know where you are, but it's working hours. So unless you're at, you know, off, maybe because of snow and ice and things like that, you can't hear this. Anyway, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about ideas. Again, we are in the idea economy. If you are going to be viable, you need to have ideas. Again, especially when we're talking about things around the AI space, and this is not just about AI. Um, because a year ago, I would have said to you, you need to be a proficient user of AI. Today, I'm saying you need to be a creator with AI. And what I mean by that is it does not have to be the nucleus of your thing, but it can be the accelerator that's used to mobilize your idea, help you research ideas. So I'm going to talk to you about that process and what happens with me and ideas. And another reason I'm doing this is because in the last week or two, keep having people say to me, it's like, you make this look really easy. Your ideas come so fast. You just know how to do this. Um, and so the risk is if I make it look too easy and then to you it feels hard, then there's a gap. I can't help you there. I want to be able to help you. So let's first talk about the reason why I seem to be so quick at this. One is I'm a geek. I'm just a geek. From the time I was a child, I want to know how things work. A lot of decomposing, dissecting, disassembling, if you will, breaking shit as a kid. I just did. So I wanted to know how things work, so I broke a lot of things trying to learn how they work, and it was a while before I learned how to fix and put them together. Now I'm really good at building and putting things together. And so my mind is always active that way. The other part is I am willing to live in my imagination. Hear what I'm saying? Old, grown up adult folks. There's this childlike part of us, like, remember when you were a child and the way that your imagination worked, right? Where you could just take something, just the simplest little thing, and turn it into an idea, and it became real, right? Like, when we were kids, we had little trucks and cars. They just as well have been, you know, large form to us because in our imaginations they were, right? Sitting around with the GI Joe with the kung fu grip, or girls with their with their dolls. They could have an entire tea party because their minds, their imaginations were active. This is what is necessary. I don't care how much education you have or you don't have. This is what you need, right? Is to keep your imagination active. There's a part of you that should never grow up. You can mature, but you don't have to grow up, right? If you read my book, Principles of the Live Free Lifestyle, there's a lot in there about that. So let's talk about where ideas come from. And I think this is also important because a lot of people have an idea and then they're afraid to share it because they think someone's going to steal their idea. Okay, I have a different philosophy about this. I don't think that anyone necessarily owns an idea. The same thing that floats around and falls into your head can fall into other heads of people who are on that same wavelength or frequency all over the world. I don't think anyone owns an idea. That's just me. But what do I think is key is who takes action to mobilize, to turn it from, right? Because this is the creative process, inanimate to animate, invisible to visible, from intangible to tangible. Whoever does that first oftentimes can be the winner because of this thing called first mover advantage. But even if you're second or third, I mean, come on, there's McDonald's, there's Burger King, there's Wendy's, there's Church's Chicken and KFC, right? I mean, so the fact that you do it and someone else does it, okay, then we've just created a competitive, sort of environment, and that's okay. But a lot of people are like this with their ideas. I'm not going to share them because someone's going to steal it. Then do something with it, because when you put it out, you think people aren't going to reverse engineer your idea if it's good. They're not going to come up with their own version of it if it's good. That thing that keeps people from even sharing or talking about their ideas is the problem. And I mean, you can get NDAs, right? Non-disclosure agreements, that may make you feel better talking about ideas. But I know people in business, even if they're venture capitalists, right, and investors, that if you put an NDA in front of them, they're walking away. They'll say, if we can't establish trust, then I don't want to be part of this, right? And I kind of feel that way too. It's like, how many times am I going to pinky swear with you that I'm not taking your idea, right? Okay, so let's move on because I want to get to the good part here, which is, like, something that I worked on today. So I'm going to show you a little bit of my process. So this is still me envisioning what gray code could be, which is sharing the process. So here's what I'm going to ask you: what do you do with your ideas? Um, what's up? I see Wendy, I see Lisa, I see a Brony. What are y'all doing? All right, so get this. What do you do with your ideas? And this is where we're probably going to be a little bit different. And this was why people say you're good at this, because this is a muscle that I have, is constantly working. The same way you would go to the gym to work out, I work the muscle. I work my imaginative muscle. I work my engineering muscle. I work my cultivating muscle to turn my ideas into something, because until I can see it, touch it, taste it, feel it, it's not real. It's just something in my head. All right. And here's the last thing I'm going to say to you before I do this little demonstration: is don't let people talk you out of your ideas. I did that a couple times and did not do something that I had this idea for. And then months later, I walked into a store and I saw my idea. Someone else had it. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't publicize it. And that's why I don't believe you can own necessarily an idea. You don't own the fourth dimension, right? And none of us necessarily know all the rules in the fourth dimension. right? But I'm telling you, if it popped into your head, it popped into someone else's. It's just about who takes the action. I've also cultivated and worked ideas that I've had people who had every intention of stealing from me. And the next time I saw my idea, it was on a store shelf, right? Fool on me, right? Maybe there's some paperwork we didn't do, whatever. But that person had every intention of stealing from me in the first place. Now, and so you got to take your life lessons where they come up. And so what I took from that is my ideas are good enough to make it to market. And that's a great thing to know. All right, so let's talk about this. So I am constantly flooded with ideas. So I've been toying with this idea about this whole business in a box thing, right? Because I think that people need to be working on ideas to build a secondary source of income to maybe a new primary source of income. The only way you can do that is by getting ideas out there. But then the process to be able to vet an idea, like how do you know if your ideas are good enough? How do you know if there's a customer? How do you know the competitive landscape? So that part of the process is something that I feel that I do really well. I feel that my company Optivist does that really well. But I just went through one today and I actually used a tool that we don't typically use for this, but it's readily available. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to talk to you about the idea. So when you see this as a product, people like, I remember when he talked to us about that. And the fact that I haven't built it yet, y'all not scaring me one bit that you're going to take it. It doesn't even bother me at all. My partner doesn't know that, yeah, he's about to do a call. Okay, so let me tell him, man, I can't do that right now. Hold up, let me tell him. I don't know how you not know your business partners online. Can I get to him? I can't get to him. All right, it'll just have to, he'll have to wait for me. Okay, anyway, so let's get to this and then maybe I can get to my business call. Okay, so I have no risk of you taking it, none at all. One is because speed, if you can beat me doing this, good, but you got to cultivate a market. Anyway, all right, let's get into this. How do you vet an idea? All right, so what I'm going to show you here is one of the tools in my arsenal, and this is Centra X. If you know it, great. If you don't worry about it. But it is readily available. It is pretty inexpensive. And so the idea is this whole idea of business in the box that I want to be able to allow a user to come with their business idea and then build out for them the strategy and the structure, not just your business plan, but the strategy with the idea of getting you to your first dollar of income. I don't even care that's not true. I do care what the idea. I care that the idea is ethical. I care that the idea will do no harm. You know what I'm saying? Just something that a reasonable kind of good person would do. Like I don't want to help you do anything nefarious. I'm not about that. All right, but I want to go back to kind of what this tool, let's go back to kind of what this tool is, just so you see what and this is the new business space I created. So Centric gives you effectively a staff, if you will, of 12 people. So I got business development, social media, so it'll post social media for you, web builder, blah, 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 blah. The writer is pretty good. You can do data analysis here, scout talent, sales. It's just there's a lot under the hood with this particular tool. So it's pretty cool stuff. So I get a lot out of sometimes working with Buddy. Again, we have other tools to do this, but Buddy is the business development sort of bot. And so let's go back up here to the top. I'm just going to walk you through this. I just scrolled up a lot. And this is the key, people. Work the idea, go through the iterations, and this is how you build your creative muscle. You might only be 1 for 10, 2 for 10 in terms of your ideas being viable, and that's why you need to get through them faster to vet them, test them, or whatever it is you're going to do with them. But some people work in a serial fashion, and then we're at year 10 and you're at your 10th idea. You have to iterate much faster if you're going to reach success. Remember this whole idea of failing fast? That's what we're talking about. If it's not going to work, and maybe you can develop an idea. Like I can build ideas I have no desire to operate. Those are the ones that I want to partner with someone. I want to sell them the idea, maybe license them the idea, and they can go on. I can help them where I can, but I don't want to walk this thing out. We have one of those on the plate now. I don't want to, I love the ideation process. I don't want to live with some of these, right? So, but think about cultivating an idea like a workout, like going to the gym. So I'm going to walk you through this process, try to not make this painful. So this is my starting prompt. And all I'm saying is I want to assess the viability of creating a service I will offer on social media to build out business plans and strategies. So what'll involve is and I can explain, you don't have to read them all, but essentially an intake form, understanding what your idea is, what the intent is, what it will deliver, how it will be delivered. Just give us the basics, right? And then the rest of it, what you get back from that is to understand: is the idea viable? Is there a market? What's your ICP, right? Your initial your customer profile, more or less. How should you deliver it? What should the pricing look like? What does your go to market strategy look like? What does it look like on social? What does it look like in print ads? What does it look like here? Like all those different things that could be part of mobilizing that idea, with the goal being, how do you get to your first dollar of profit as soon as possible? And I'm talking about ideas where you can get to your first customer, your first dollar, within 15 to 45 days, which is really, really fast, right? And so getting this information and getting sort of this roadmap and how you get started becomes really, really important. And the other thing is, we have certain tools. I've developed certain tools like Complete Prompt Pro that allow you to be able to do things like this. Um, that will allow you to do things maybe in a way that other people can't do them. So that's one of the other reasons why I'm talking about these things. And so now this just starts a conversation between myself and Buddy. Buddy starts to ask some questions. First, he's like, yeah, this is a great idea, which, AI tends to do that, can be over optimistic. There's ways to tune it, right, to not be so optimistic all the time. But it talks about what's strong about the idea. It tells me what's risky with the idea. It tells me who my ICP is, right? That's customer profile. Talks about the offer design. And again, the idea to first dollar. That's really what I want to do here. But it's asking me other questions. How do I want to build this? Do I want to do calls? It starts to talk initially um, about what the pricing could be, some other constraints. So this is sort of our first rep, right? And then it asks me some clarifying questions. Who's my current audience? It's basically saying, you want to do this, but do you have people that will listen to you? Are you trying to optimize for volume, or do you want high ticket? Things like that. So this is starting our second rep. I provide back to him. It's like, I think I'm with somebody, right? It's basically what I'm saying here. I've done some writing. I have an experience as an executive in corporate America. I've built a lot. I've had storefront businesses. I've written books. I do real estate. I coach. I mentor. I'm like, dude, I think I got something to stand on. He's like, oh, you have plenty of credibility. It's what he's saying. You have plenty of credibility. And then he goes on to start asking me some other questions about myself and getting into this. And I think what I then told him, yeah, because I'm a little bit. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit offended. I'm like, buddy, you got to put some respect on my name, buddy. You got to put some respect on my name. I'm not new to these streets. The buddy doesn't know me because this is a new instance, right? So I haven't given him all that information about who Jerry is. And if you're working in tools like this, give it all the information about who you are. It'll be much better for you. So then I stopped. I went and I collected manuscripts from my books, um, features and benefits from applications that we've written, the Optivist websites for other things that I've done, bios, all that sort of stuff. And I loaded that into the brain, right? The system uses the brain. You put all the stuff about you. That's why if you're writing, put all your stuff in there, then it can help you write because it knows your style. We can get to that later about how to use a tool like this to write your books, so you guys aren't, writing your last chapter on your deathbeds. I'm here to help you with that too. All right. Anyway, so we got through all that. It's like, and I'm like, hey, before I answer all these additional questions, I've uploaded some material to the brain. You need to go find out who you're talking to. Oh, and it's like, oh, okay. The brain says yeah, you have authority. You have all that other stuff. So we got through that piece of it, right? But then this is, if you're working with the right tools, it's more of this sort of answering of questions about the outcomes, kind of how I want to deliver this. So then I'm here able to answer these questions, but then also ask new questions. So now so it's like me sitting down with a business development specialist. But again, this is working the ideation muscle. This is working the creative muscle. It's forcing me to deep dive my idea. It's forcing me to imagine, who does my customer look like? What does my product look like? What is my marketing look? You need to be able to see these things clearly in your head. If you're going to go from inanimate to animate, right? From invisible to visible, from intangible to tangible, you got to put some meat on the bones. This cannot just be notes in a notebook, right? You have to bring your ideas to life. And so this is a better word, this sparring that I'm doing with Buddy, because he got some things right, got some things wrong, made some good ideas. And again, it's not about right and wrong. It's about developing an ideation, right? And then because I kind of told him about, it's like, well, we have, I got this differentiator. It's called Complete Prompt. It's a tool that I created that allows me to take a few sentences and turn them into super prompts. Because he's like, well, how are you going to produce this information and do it in a standard way and make this work well for people? Well, because I have a tool that does exactly that, that can take a few lines of input in a very standard way, turn that into 500 to 1,000 word prompts, super prompts that will give very consistent but very deep insights, useful information that's well balanced and not overly optimistic to make you think that any idea is going to make you a multi cajillionaire, right? So we have that, and it's like, oh, well, you have a competitive advantage, and that is the thing. Let me say this lastly: even if someone else has an idea similar to the idea that you want to do, what you want to discover is, how do I differentiate myself then in the market? What is the thing, the additional pain point that I can solve for people, that additional question I can ask, that different problem that I can solve, that different need that I can meet, that allows me to have differentiation, even if it's in a crowded space. You want to figure out what makes you special in the space. What do you have that no one else has? Is it quality? Is it speed? Is it depth? Is it breadth? I don't know what it is, but you want to differentiate yourself in some way, and if someone else is doing it, does not mean that you should not do it, right? It doesn't mean that. Could mean that, but it doesn't mean that. The issue is, do you want to, or how can you differentiate yourself without becoming the LCP? What is the LCP? Without becoming the low cost provider. You don't have to undercut everyone else, right? Because then your margins are smaller. You actually raise your risk because you don't have any cushion. So you don't have to be the low cost provider to be competitive. You can differentiate and just learn how to tell a better story. And then also understand that everyone's not for you. You're not for everybody. You only want to find the people that you can help. All right. And then we went on a little bit further. And this is one of the things that I threw out to Buddy. It's like, it's like, well, who do you really want to help? Right. And I just like, look, if you about the nonsense, I'm not trying to do it. So this one we talked about, working with people who want to support the good for everybody, the public good. That's really what I want to go for. And then he's like, hey, six final questions. And it really wasn't six, but this is about the turnaround time to produce these things, the interactions that I would have with individuals. How do we score? I think that'd be really neat, right? If someone puts their information in, the initial analysis is done, you get a viability score, right? Something on a scale of 1 to 100, and a red, yellow, green, right? If it's red, it's like, yeah, maybe you want to take the core of what you have and think about these things. Yellow is going to be, how do you refine these things to get your yellows to greens? And green is, how do you get to go as soon as possible? So I think red, yellow, green makes a lot of sense along with the score. I also want that to be shareable, right? So people can send that out to people on their team, maybe on their social media. One is referrals for us, but I think that sometimes when you take it public, it adds a level of accountability. It says you're going to actually do something with it. All right. So I got that. We talked about the turnaround, talked about the strategy some more, talked about the where this thing would be published. I also challenged this, like, well, if this is real business, do we put this on LinkedIn? But I want you to see the length of this, right? Each one of these are more follow-up questions from Buddy. I'm answering those questions. It's now reshaping the idea. All right. So let me bring this to a close. Again, more of this interaction. So we're sparring, we're working the idea. And this is what a lot of you don't do. I don't say that critically, but I'm saying, look at my process, adopt something like this where there's iterations where you go back and forth, and it cannot be just in your head. It cannot just be with people who are going to agree with you. It can't just be with people who have no godly idea what you're talking about, right? You got to bring your ideas in front of people that can give you point counterpoint. Why? Because this helps you mitigate or manage your risk. We talked a lot about this sort of NDA thing, right? People sharing their ideas, and I'm willing to participate in somewhat of an NDA, but again, I'm only going to do so many pinky swears. If your level of trust is that low, you probably need to be somewhere else. And I can see you guys, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I'm trying to pay attention to everything. Matter of fact, let me click over Chia. So something comes up in the chat. All right, okay, all right. I want to be able to answer questions. Because it's 25 minutes. I'm ready to be out of here. Actually, I have a meeting in 14 minutes anyway. All right, but we're getting near the end of this. But I want you to see all this detail is not super important, right? But when we get to the end of it all, right, we talked about the viability score, we talked about the dashboards. We have gone through this is a lot, right? If you can't see the detail, I want you to see the length of this and understand how we're working through the process to build out a full product. Its definition, its marketplace, its customers, its delivery mechanisms, all those things in less than an hour. For something, who I know, will I make 1,000, 100,000? I don't know, but it's vetted. It'll be completely done. And then there's this benefit at the very end. And then I'll show you this lastly. This is basically taking the entirety of the idea, and now it's in one final document that I can review, share with my business partner, share with other people I might partner with on this. I love this piece of it. This kind of talks about how the score for the idea will come together. I don't know that anyone's doing that. Again, differentiate. How can we be different? All that sort of thing. But work the muscle, practice, work the muscle, practice, work the muscle, practice. And so let me wrap with this for you then. Because again, what are we able to do that other people are not able to do? Let me see if I can get you off of here. And I'm gonna sneeze. Why is he in Puerto Rico sneezing? These are great questions to be answered. Okay, here we are. I was trying to get back to just my face here. All right. So the last thing that'll happen with this idea, now imagine this, because it's no one's doing this, right? Is I think that if you just get back a report, right, with the score and business plan, it's probably going to be 20 to 30 pages long. I can only imagine because we do this a lot. It's about what they tend to be. That's a lot for people to be able to ingest, to understand, to work through. So a couple things. One is, do we offer coaching to help people mobilize their plan? Because again, we want to get you to first dollar as quickly as possible. So that's one option. But think about this. What if all the information that's in your report, in that analysis, right, in your strategy document, what if we turn that into your launch app? Yeah, because we know how to do that. To take the output from what you get and turn that into a custom launch app. That is your zero to first dollar application. It shows you the things you need to do. You can check off whether or not they're done, give you alternatives, talk to you about how to get help. And then what we can do is actually build in something like a buddy. So you now have an AI agent inside your own custom tool that knows your entire plan and what you want to do and other data that you've fed it to help you get through the roadblocks. A matter of fact, don't just have Buddy. How about you have a researcher? How about you have a life coach or a business coach in there? So as you reach some of those sort of emotional sort of things where you start to get into your own way, you have different points of accountability where it's on your schedule. Hey, you have a meeting with your business development person. You have a meeting with your researcher. You have a meeting with your business or life coach to help keep you. I just thought about some of that. I like it myself. I think it's good. We do a lot with building agents in the applications now. The power of it, we use them every day. I think we have either 7 or 9 of them that do different things for us. It's amazing that this is how we get extra reach. But could you imagine having a tool like that that knows your business plan and then is there to help you with not just how you execute the tactical pieces of it for the overall strategy, but also to help you to get through any blockages that you have in terms of why you don't perform or don't execute, to help you do some of that deep diving into yourself. I think it's pretty neat. But so the idea is one thing, but what I'm trying to get to you is work your ideas. Work your ideas. It's like sparring in the gym, but you gotta break a sweat. Break a sweat. You know how you know that you've done it? You sleep really well at night because you actually burn calories up here too, right? The mental work, you'll know you did it well because you'll be ready to get somewhere and get a nap. Work the gray matter, build the muscle of your brain, of your creativity, your imagination, and that is having something childlike that you stay in. So here, if you stay with me this long, let me give you this final bonus. If you want to never run out of ideas, and I mean never run out of ideas, ever run out of ideas, live a life based in gratitude. What do you say? Live a life based in gratitude. Now, some people will watch this and say, well, I do that. And I'm saying to you, no, you don't, because you would never run out of ideas. I'll explain to you why. But what some people think is they think they live a life of gratitude. What you really do is you live a life of thankfulness. You're thankful as all heck, but thankfulness is transactional. Gratitude is transformational. When you're in true moments of gratitude, it opens up the sphere of all things. It opens up the fourth dimension, if you will. And then all you see are possibilities. If you're truly living a life of gratitude, you see possible. From the impossible, you see possible, and it opens up ideas, and it will hone itself into your situation, into your life, into your community, into your sphere of influence, that you can now bring things into that arena, into that space, into that community. Again, what is that process? Inanimate to animate, invisible to visible, intangible to tangible. If you live in gratitude, true gratitude, which is being able to find the good in every moment, it opens up the fourth dimension to you. Try it, do it every day for 10, 15 minutes. And if you don't see us sense something in you, then you come back to me. I owe you a lunch. I owe you at least a lunch. Because I've never seen this fail before. But again, some of you are so plugged into thankfulness that you don't know the difference. I'm trying to help you with the difference, right? Again, it's one of those things that I Principles of the Live Free Lifestyle, find it on Amazon. There's a great chapter in there about um, growing up. No, being mature does not mean you have to grow up. And it kind of talks about this, right? This has been studied. Live in gratitude. You will never run out of ideas. You want to be the brightest bulb on the block? Live in gratitude. But then work. This is real work. This is working the muscle. And this is not, let me say this, like some of you don't approach, or you approach this thing like everything you're doing in front of an audience. You're doing like you're on stage or something. And it's like you're going to get graded or rated or booed, off the stage of life if you quote unquote have the wrong answer. What kind of wrong answers could you have if you're just ideating? If you're just like a kid, you didn't do that when you were a kid. You didn't rate or grade yourself that way. You could make up the rules on the fly. Somebody, I got you. It's like, hold on, I got 9 lives. New rules. Okay, boom, you got 9 lives. We off we go. We don't deter yourself with that nonsense. Live a life in gratitude. You will never run out of ideas. And in this idea economy, you need to have ideas. And the other thing is now we got to be willing to do the work. I just showed you some of my process. I could do this all day. I could literally do this all day. Right. And so when I talk to you and you say something, I'm gonna be like, boom, did you think about this? Boom, did you think about doing that? Hey, what if you change it this way? What if you look? And that just, I don't really even, it just comes to me now. But I have worked the muscle. You feeling me? Work the muscle. All right. We are, man, we had 34 minutes. I got a meeting in 5 minutes. I try to get out of here. Thank you all for watching. If you have questions, just hit them up in the comments wherever you're seeing this, either on my page, on the Pivot Play podcast, on YouTube, in the Pivot Play podcast group, on Facebook. Um, Hit me up. All right, let's get us some music to get us out of here. What do we want to do? I think we came in on some fishy grits. Let's leave out with a little bit of Iro here. First recording. Oh, I forgot to say something about my co-host behind me. I didn't say anything about my co-host behind me, my African mask. I love them because I refuse to let anything or anybody separate me from my creation. Hang it up. Ain't gonna happen. All right. Live a life of gratitude. Never run out of ideas. Trust me on this one.